So if you take what Fetterman said yesterday about how people are cheering for him to die on the left, and then you couple it with something that was on the Joe Rogan show on Tuesday, he was saying that the reaction to the death of Charlie Kirk makes him think that the U.S. is closer to civil war than he thought. Now, let me quote him. He said, after the Charlie Kirk thing, I'm like, oh my, we might be like at 7. This might be like step 7 on the way to a bona fide civil war. Charlie Kirk gets shot and people are celebrating. Like, whoa, 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 whoa. You want people to die you disagree with? Where are we now on the scale of civil war? Well, let me go over the scale of civil war because it's sobering. Now, none of this has to be true. If we wake up and decide, I don't want to do this anymore. Okay, here's step 1. Step 1, loss of civic trust. Every civil conflict begins when people stop believing that the system is fair. Are we there? We're so far past the doorway. We are comfortably asleep on the couch on this one. Gallup and Pew both show trust in Congress, media, courts, the FBI, and government are now at record lows. The Edelman Trust Barometer classifies the U.S. now as severely polarized. Majority of Republicans distrust federal elections. Majority of Democrats don't trust the Supreme Court. Americans are really united on one thing, and that is the other side is corrupt. When faith in the rules collapses, the republic begins to wobble. But that's step 1. Step 2, polarization hardens into identity. Political disagreement is normal. Identity conflict is fatal. But that's what Marxists push, identity politics. This is when politics stop being about policy and start being about who you are as a person. Have we crossed this one into step 2? I mean, we're neck deep in this. A study on this from PRRI, it's a survey, found 23% of Americans believe political violence may be necessary to save the nation. I think that's an old study. Americans now sort themselves by zip code into ideological enclaves. The big sort. Universities, activists, corporations, everybody is promoting oppressor versus oppressed. And that does what? It puts us into incompatible tribes. Opponents aren't wrong anymore. The opponent is dangerous. If you go back and you look at civil wars, Lebanon before 1975, Yugoslavia before 1991, we're doing that. Okay. Step 3, breakdown of the gatekeepers. The gatekeepers are kind of like the referees of society. It's the media, political parties, churches, civic leaders. When they fail, extremism fills the vacuum. Okay, so where are we on this one? Have our gatekeepers failed us? Yeah, I think both parties, especially the left, everything I predicted that the left was going to be eaten by the extreme left, and then the communists and the socialists is now happening. They've lost control of the fringe of each party. Media transformed from referees into team coaches. Tech platforms, it's outrage for profit. Universities are not there to cool things down. They heat them up. Churches are useless. When the referees leave the field, the game devolves into a brawl, and the refs are gone off the field. So there are only 9 steps. We're at step 4. Here's step 4. You ready for this one? Parallel information realities. Civil wars don't require different opinions. They require different realities. I remember reading about Germany at the beginning of, the Nazi era, how the 2 newspapers, one was propaganda for the government and the other one, it was the last one that was kind of a holdout. And they said you could read them and they would cover the same thing, but they had almost no information was the same, except that happened yesterday. Here's what they said. And then everything else was different. That's exactly. Step 4 is complete. We can't agree on facts, right? Crime rates, border numbers, inflation, election security. 2 Americans can watch the same video and see opposite truths. Social media algorithms are creating customized political universes, digital echo chambers. Deep fakes, we're just at the beginning of that. And both sides accuse the other of running disinformation machines. Why? Because we don't have a shared reality. So if you don't have a shared reality, how do you settle any dispute? On the 9 steps, we're up to number 5. Coming in at number 5, loss of neutral rule of law. This, out of the 9 steps, 5 is the pivot point. It's not corruption. It's the belief that the law no longer is neutral. Are we there yet? Let me tell you the CBS YouGov poll. 67% say the justice system is used for political purposes. I think that's low. January 6 defendants given years in prison. 2020 rioters were released. High-profile political figures prosecuted or shielded based on party. FBI whistleblowers alleging pressure to inflate domestic extremism numbers. States like Texas directly defying federal directives on border enforcement, and now leading the way with the federal government. History is really cold and unforgiving on this point. Once the people believe justice is political, remember, this is the turning point. The republic stands on borrowed time. Once you no longer believe that justice is achievable. Step 6, are we there? I think we are. Step 6, normalization of political violence. This is where violence stops shocking the system. Are we there? Remember, where violence stops shocking the system. Look at the evidence just from Virginia, what they just voted for. He was calling for the death of a political opposition, calling for his children to be killed. Was called on it, never apologized, never said anything other than, yeah, I know, he dug it deeper. Was anyone shocked by it? Apparently not. They elected him. Here's the evidence. 2020 riots, 574 events, $2 billion in damage. Was anybody outraged by that? Or was it downplayed and excused? Assassination attempts. Assassination attempts against the president, Supreme Court justice, fistfights and mob actions on college campuses to silence speakers, rising tolerance for punching a fascist or stopping genocide, depending on the ideology. Online chatter discussing civil war, national divorce, and revolution. When violence becomes part of the political language, a nation crosses an invisible line. We're now up to step 7 out of 9. This is where Joe Rogan said, are we at step 7? The rise of militias and parallel forces. When a state loses its monopoly on force, the countdown accelerates. So where are we on this one? I think we're seeing maybe early signs of this. You're starting to see the states kind of organize these mobs, to go after ICE, right? Armed groups. Right wing, left wing, radical, secessionist, anyone. Once they start forming their own police forces or their own opposition forces, then you have everything really falling apart entirely. I don't think we're there yet, but we're starting to see the beginnings of this. Step 8, the trigger event. Civil wars don't begin with a plan. They begin with a spark. So where are we? We're not here yet either, but the conditions are right. Potential triggers, disputed election in 26 or 28, political assassination or a major attack, Supreme Court decision that ignites mass unrest, financial crisis or dollar crisis, a state-federal standoff turning violent. Nothing has ignited yet, but the room is soaked in gasoline. So we don't have 7. We are on the verge of 8 at any time. And here's 9. This is the point of no return. When police, military, or federal agencies split, even if no one calls it that, well, where are we? Well, I just read a story about how with the Mamdani election in New York, a good number of the police force is going to leave, and they're going to go join police forces elsewhere. You also have the tension between the state National Guard and the federal directives, the state guard and the state directives. Law enforcement recruitment is at crisis lows. The distrust of the FBI, DOJ, CIA, tens of millions of Americans. I always really respected those institutions. I have no respect for them now. If you have states openly defying federal rules on immigration, drug laws, sanctuary policies, whistleblower claims of internal politicization, all of these things are in play. For the first time in 150 years, people can imagine. So I give this to you not to be fearful of, but to know where you are as a map. Know where you are. And hopefully it might wake some people up. If you chart America on the 9-step model of civil war, steps 1 through 4 completed. Step 5 happening. Step 6 happening. Step 7 beginning. Step 8 just waiting for it. And step 9 avoidable only if step 8 never happens. Again, I'm not telling you for doom purposes. This is diagnosis. This is a doctor going, I want you to look at the chart. And this is a doctor saying, I want you to look at it. You see what's happening to your body? If you don't stop this habit, you are going to die. You don't have to die. You can stop smoking and drinking right now. You can start exercising. But if you don't, you are going to die. The question is, are we the nation that says, nah, it's not going to happen to me? Or are we the nation that wakes up and sees our chart and goes, good heavens, it's way out of control and far more gone than I thought it was. But I feel something in the air. I'm going to change my behavior. The nation that refuses to look and wake up and stop calling their neighbors enemies is the nation that fails. We have to strengthen these things that have already fallen. And you know what the easiest one to do is? Church, where are you, ministers and pastors and priests and rabbis? Where the hell are you? I think there's going to be a special section for you when you cross over to the, because you're doing things in the name of God. So when you get to the other side, I think there's going to be a special section for those who remained silent while his rights were being taken away. You don't own that right. I don't own that right. The Lord gave us those rights and said, protect them by you being the representative, the voice box, if you will, of the Lord to shepherd his people, by you not standing up and saying, hey, by the way, we have a moral responsibility to protect these rights for the next generation. By you refusing because you're afraid, because you think there's no politics in the Bible. There's no politics in the Bible. Really? The whole thing is about politics, is about the moral way you have to live your life, calling things as you see them, calling them back to eternal principles. He didn't tell anybody how to vote. Render it unto Caesar's what's Caesar's. But there are certain principles that you have to have, or you lose not only this citizenship, but the next citizenship, the one that really matters. And boy, if you are doing it because you're a coward, you are in the wrong business. Get out of the pulpit and go to work at Jack in the Box.